Hi, I'm Michael Hardigan of Astrology, and this video is going to take a look at the tropical zodiac. So, I say some mean things about the tropical zodiac, and I wish I could talk about mainstream Western astrology without making it look so stupid, but unfortunately, I'm one of those weirdos who really values scientific accuracy. And I'm a siderealist, and that comes through in my work and my videos. So I want to look at some of the things I like about the tropical zodiac, and I want to talk about some arguments that I hear for it, and I want to address them. Just looking at a brief overview of the tropical zodiac, in ancient Babylon and in early ancient Greece, they used a sidereal zodiac. When they discovered the precession of the equinox, which is a discovery attributed to Hipparchus, it seems like they made that switch to the tropical system from the sidereal one. And it seems like it was Hipparchus' fault, because he was born in he lived about 150 BC, which is right around the time that 0 degrees Aries was actually astronomically the point at which the sun rose in the northern hemisphere vernal equinox. So if that didn't make any sense to you, check out my other videos, look into it a little bit. I'm going to skip ahead to just what I want to talk about in this video for now. By 300 CE, Ptolemy had sealed the tropical orientation in his Tetrabiblios and his Almagest, and fast forwarding through the Dark Ages to the Renaissance in 1500s, people in Europe began to read in Greek. They began to read these ancient works. None of Hipparchus' works survive, but Ptolemy definitely survived into the modern era, and I'm working my way through the Tetrabiblios right now, and I can tell you it's really amazing what he didn't understand. The fundamental ignorance of his work is almost as amazing as the fundamental wisdom of it. For example, one of the reasons that they couldn't figure out the precession of the equinox and they chose to just abandon a sidereal orientation to the zodiac entirely is because they were geocentrists. They couldn't put it into an astronomical perspective because they thought the Earth was fixed and the heavens moved around it. That was the vogue of the milieu in ancient Greece. And in spite of a couple people figuring it out, the dominant thought of the era was geocentric. So, one of the arguments I hear for tropical astrology, I want to take a look at right now, because it has to do with the seasonal correctness of it. Now, looking at the outer wheel here, we see the signs of the zodiac. Looking at the inner wheel here, we see the rulers of those signs. So Aries is ruled by Mars. Right here, at 0 degrees Aries, there we go. Here at 0 degrees Aries is where we orient the tropical zodiac to this day, which means it's kind of fixed in time, although the last time that was astronomically accurate was again about 150 years before Christ. Around 2,500 years ago, 2,500 years BC, the sun was rising on the northern hemisphere vernal equinox at about 0 degrees Taurus. And before that, we will go back to about 4,500 BC, when we saw the sun last rise in Gemini. So, again, Hipparchus here in 150 BC chose to orient it to this, and it stays to this orientation today, even though right now, if you watch the sunrise on the vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere, you would see it come up here in Pisces, and in a couple hundred years we'll enter the age of Aquarius. So we're kind of forever at the end of the age of Aries here. But what I like about that is that it means the summer months are ruled by the luminaries, the moon and the sun. The winter months of Aquarius and Capricorn are ruled by cold, distant Saturn, who to the ancient Greeks was the outermost planet. It is the outermost visible planet to this day, and it's also associated with slowness, coldness. So that makes a lot of sense, and people argue for the tropical zodiac all the time, saying, well, it's not supposed to be oriented to the stars. It never was. It's supposed to be oriented to the seasons. Well, the reason Hipparchus oriented it to 0 degrees Aries in 150 BC is because that's where the heavens were. So it was supposed to be oriented to the stars. What Hipparchus didn't understand is that it was going to drift out of order, further out of order as time went on. And he didn't understand this because he was a geocentrist. So I want to refute that argument. I also want to point out that that argument has geocentric roots, and it also has Eurocentric roots, because this point right here at 0 Aries is only the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. If you look at the seasons in the southern hemisphere, this is the vernal equinox, which means that in the southern hemisphere, winter is ruled by the luminaries and summer is ruled by Saturn. So, sorry, I got that a little bit wrong. It says southern vernal under my big head down there in the corner. So, an argument I could make against the tropical zodiac is that it's going to continue to become more and more inaccurate to the actual heavens. At the time of Hipparchus and Ptolemy, astrology wasn't the word that they used for it. They called it astronomical divination. So we know that the scientific accuracy of it was important, and the tropical zodiac is simply not astronomical. Another argument that I hear for the tropical zodiac is that, well, this language is just really powerful. This system of archetypes and signs and planets and houses and aspects and angles, this gives me a powerful tool, a powerful alphabet and language with which to understand myself. It's very valuable, and I hear that, and I want to acknowledge that as totally valid. I think that the language of astrology, of any zodiac, is powerful, and that is a very primordial psychology, and that it's very medicinal. This is the fundamental reason that I practice astrology. So the tropical zodiac does have some value there, and if you relate to your zodiacal sign, there is nothing wrong with that. For the practice of astrology and for really drilling down on how the inner world relates to the outer world, I think that the astronomical accuracy of the system of true sidereal astrology increases the power of that language, and I think it increases the value for that reason. But I do hear everyone who says, no, I've really benefited from tropical astrology. My Western chart changed my life. It changed mine, although there was always a rub. I always had real issues with it and had to work to dig deeper and deeper and get into the astronomical truth of it before I would really be satisfied in its in what it was telling me about myself. So that's a good look at the tropical zodiac. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.